I had to figure out what to eat, when to eat it, because another issue is low blood sugar. Okay. And then another issue on top of that is just dealing with sugar and staying away from sugar because what happened to me when I attempted to eat something sweet like maybe a brownie, I immediately was overcome with fatigue and I just crashed.
Welcome to Thriving with Diabetes, the podcast where we empower people to live their best lives. I am your host, Gamden, a holistic wellness coach, helping people overcome the struggles they face with diabetes. Today, we will be diving into chronic fatigue syndrome and type 2 diabetes, exploring effective holistic strategies for managing both conditions and boosting energy levels. Our guest, Rachelle Davis, is a passionate and dedicated holistic chronic fatigue health coach who has transformed her own experience with chronic fatigue into a powerful mission to helping others. Rachel will share invaluable insights and practical tips for our audience. So, without further ado, I will hand it over to Rachel to introduce herself. Rachel, welcome to Thriving with Diabetes podcast.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Brilliant. Rachel, you have been struggling with chronic fatigue for a long time. Could you share your health journey and what inspired you to become a holistic chronic fatigue health coach?
Sure. So it was about, it actually started back in 2013 when I was working overseas as a contractor, because I am prior military. So with that experience, I went overseas to Afghanistan and I started working. So at the same time that year, I was also studying for my certification as a holistic health coach. And so that was my last year contracting. I did it for about 3 years. In about my last 6 months is when um, I started experiencing certain issues that led up to my chronic fatigue syndrome. So it was stress on top of working the last 6 months nonstop because my contract was to work every day, 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. And normally in the past, I would have taken what is called an R&R. So every 3 to 4 months, we would take a break, a vacation, and we would go away for a week or two. But since it was my last 6 months, I thought, okay, I'm just going to, work through that time, stack my money. And I did that, however, because I was working night shift and I had just a horrible supervisor. I was very stressed, not getting enough rest, because when you work nights, you're just not getting the proper amount of rest that you would require to recover. So all of that in tandem um, led to my chronic fatigue, and I didn't experience it until about a month and a half into me being back in the United States, where I started experiencing, issues with sleeping and fatigue and waking up like 3 o'clock in the morning with hot flashes, brain fog. Along with that came muscle pain, and I injured myself when I was exercising. Um, so that was actually discovered after I had went to a seminar um, for stress with an acupuncturist. And before I went to that seminar, I had a physical with my regular doctor, and it was discovered that my blood pressure was high. And so my doctor immediately wanted to put me on some medication, but I was like, no, if there's something I can do to deal with this with food, if there's something I need to change, then I'll do that. So when I went to the seminar, um, and it was on stress, it was with an acupuncturist who had gone to school 4 years in the East and 4 years in the West. So together he combined that knowledge and experience, and he was able to diagnose me after I had a physical with him. I let him know about my different symptoms, and he was one that diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome. So after that, yes, I did do a couple sessions of acupuncture and cupping, but I decided that I was going to figure out how to heal myself holistically. And since I just got my certification as a holistic health coach, my experience is how I picked what my specialty was, and that was in chronic fatigue syndrome.
Brilliant. Very interesting. So you suffered from different health issues or symptoms, which was related to working a long or long hours, no breaks, um, no recovery time. Uh,
Yeah.
so some of the symptoms that you had, it was sleeping issues, muscle
Mhm.
pain. You had high blood pressure.
Mhm.
Then, when you discovered that you were suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome, things changed. You started
Yes,
working
they
on
did.
yourself, then that inspired you to help others who are suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Yes. So, I had to structure my lifestyle around, what I was experiencing, and at the same time, I had to heal. I had to figure out what to eat, when to eat it, because another issue is low blood sugar. Okay. And then another issue on top of that is just dealing with sugar and staying away from sugar, because what happened to me when I attempted to eat something sweet like maybe a brownie, I immediately was overcome with fatigue and I just crashed. I had to take a nap. I had no choice in the matter, but I just became immediately drained of all energy. And so that was another thing that affected me greatly. The thing about it is that a lot of people are addicted to food. A lot of people are addicted to carbs, sweets, just food in general. And so any addiction or attachment that I had to overcome that as well, which made it, it was difficult. It wasn't easy because, you can try and stick to a plan, but then as soon as you fall off, you're kind of back in that situation feeling horrible. So it was a struggle, but I figured it out.
Brilliant. Sounds very interesting, but we need to dig a little bit into the condition itself. Uh,
Yes.
Many people may not fully understand what chronic fatigue syndrome is. Uh, can you provide us with a clear definition of chronic fatigue syndrome and its or the common symptoms that we need to watch or be aware of?
Yes. So, okay. So it differs from men to women. Okay. However, technically, if you want to have a technical definition, you would say anyone experiencing these particular symptoms for 6 months or longer. So you could go to sleep, or you may have trouble going to sleep. When you do finally go to sleep, you can wake up. For example, a woman may wake up in the middle of the night and have hot flashes. A man a man may wake up, he probably won't have the hot flashes because the woman just has more hormones and whatnot. But in any case, if you do get to sleep, get some rest, you wake up and you're still feeling tired. You're still feeling fatigued. You can feel fatigue throughout the day and just feel like you're never catching up, that type of thing. Um, brain fog. Brain fog is one thing that anyone can experience, woman or man, it doesn't really matter. The muscle pain and the muscle weakness, that's something that would lean more towards what a man would feel as far as a symptom. The low blood sugar, that could be anyone. And that's kind of like, I guess you can say that's one of those things that someone with diabetes may have in common as well, the low blood sugar. Um, And basically, I would say when you wake up in the morning, you have to eat in a certain amount of time. Okay. Um, and also, yeah, you want to stay away from carbs, per se. Now, when you have chronic fatigue, and I would say also diabetes, you want to stay away from those processed foods. Okay. Because they're really not good for anyone, um, when you're dealing with that type of thing. The other thing that you would want to, of course, stay away from is sugar. Okay. And of course, anyone with diabetes knows that sugar is not something that they want to have. Okay. Or really consume, right? So getting back to more symptoms, so we have the fatigue, we have the brain fog, muscle pain, muscle weakness, the effects of sugar. Those are other symptoms as well. Um, and so as a result, a person has to exercise, okay, but they're not going to be able to do cardio and, all the uh, maybe heavy exercise that's going to, like hit something like that, that's going to leave them exhausted. You want to adopt exercises like walking every day out in nature. You want to do yoga. Those are things that really work well for a person.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that information. Very interesting. So, some of the common symptoms you mentioned: brain fog, muscle pain, uh, low blood sugar levels, uh, feeling tired even when you sleep long hours. For example, maybe 7 hours, you will still feel that
Wake up
you
exhausted.
didn't have enough sleep. That is,
Correct.
or that are some of the common symptoms that we need to be aware of. And you shared two tips. Is we need to avoid processed foods and
Mhm.
try to do a low intensity training.
Yes.
Let's move forward and talk about the the condition as chronic fatigue and its impact on blood sugar control and overall diabetes management. Have you got something to share about that?
Well, basically, you want to eat certain foods that are healthy for you, that aren't going to spike your blood sugar, basically. Um, and that's something to be conscious of. At the same time, you may have gut issues as well. So one of the things that I like to incorporate is food combining into my lessons for my course. It's very important. A lot of people, I would say Westerners, probably haven't heard of food combining, but it's very important. For example, um, you don't want to eat and drink at the same time. Okay. You want to wait at least 30 minutes between the two. That's very good. And, good for your digestion. Okay. Um, and so, as far as the blood sugar, you just want to make sure when you wake up in the morning that you eat within a certain time period. All right. So that you're not feeling the effects of, your blood sugar and whatnot. And again, you do have to watch which foods you eat because even some fruits are too sugary. So you may think you're eating healthy, but in the condition that you might be experiencing, it's not the right thing for you to be eating. So there are things that you need to be mindful of.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that information. I want to talk about stress, which is a major issue, and
Oh yeah.
diabetes. Uh, you know that stress is a common factor uh, in chronic fatigue and uh, diabetes. How does stress impact these conditions? Chronic fatigue
Oh yeah.
and diabetes, and what strategies you can share so people can implement to manage both of them. You have already shared something which is about nutrition and eating healthy. You mentioned earlier avoiding processed foods. That is something very important when it comes to diabetes.
Yeah. So the path to chronic fatigue is chronic stress. Okay. Now, some people, they have to understand that you don't have to live a stressful life. Now, could your condition, diabetes, be stressful? Yes, but you're going to have to learn healthy outlets for your stress, uh, which is where meditation would come in, something like that. Whoops, sorry, kitty. Um, so, meditation is one way of dealing with stress. It also helps with your sleep as well. Okay. Um, so, someone with diabetes, like I said, exercise, just being out in nature and walking in the park is very important, okay? Because that also helps with stress levels. Self care is another way, getting out of your regular environment. And if you're around stressful people, then you need to put up those boundaries, find a way to deal with those people, or if you can avoid dealing with them, then that's also helpful as well. But I mean, it's not easy if a person's in the midst of all this stress because I know myself when I was going through it, I thought I could handle it. You know what I mean? Until it just wore me down to the point where once I left, I was feeling the effects. So it's important to establish healthy outlets, whether it's taking time for yourself with nobody around, going outside to walk, taking time in the morning or in the evening before you go to bed, meditating. But it's something that you have to deal with. And also, if you have diabetes or chronic fatigue, and maybe you might be a stress eater, okay? So that's something that you need to deal with. You need to deal with whatever the issue is, and if you need to talk to somebody, hey, that's what I'm here for. Um, to deal with the issue instead of turning to food or something else that's just unhealthy um, and is not actually helping you heal.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that information. Great tips or strategies. You mentioned meditation, walking, or just walking in nature. Sometimes the environment doesn't helps or help, or the culture that we are in. We need to move, take some break, rest. That is a way to manage stress or reduce it. so we feel better. Do you have anything to share about major obstacles faced by people with diabetes and chronic fatigue syndrome? What are the challenges they may face in terms of health or life?
Yeah, so a lot of times doctors want to link disease to heritage. Um, but in fact, it's actually linked to lifestyle. And maybe, you find out you have diabetes and you don't know how to cook or you don't know what foods to eat. You feel like you don't have access to healthy food. These are some issues that some people may have, but you can always either grow your own food, go to a farmer's market, um, and try and get healthy organic vegetables and fruit, for example. Um, and the same if you're going to eat meat, you want to eat um, organic meat. You want to eat the best. So nutrition is very important, as well as if you are, chances are you're probably lacking some minerals and vitamins. So it's one thing to try and get that all from food, but you're going to also need that extra support as well. So I think that all in all, you need to develop a plan and then you have got to just create a regimen and you've got to remain consistent in order to heal. Okay. But it is possible. There is hope. And through my website, I offer group coaching and counseling for individuals, that want to heal and need some assistance, don't know where to start. It's a step by step system. You really don't have to do too much thinking except for, maybe deciding, when you want to start. And as long as you remain consistent, you will succeed. So, to help with that, I created a planner, which it has step by step instructions again, for like day to day regimen. Okay. So you know what to do when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, exactly what to do, exercise, so on and so forth. And it gives you suggestions on what to eat, what not to eat, that type of thing. And then I also have a journal, and the journal helps you track your progress because without tracking your progress, you're not going to know when you're going to start to feel better due to the fact that there's just so many symptoms. And if you were to go to a regular doctor, they're only going to, try and treat that one symptom. Where with chronic fatigue, it's important to treat the whole person. So the only way to do that is with, diet, nutrition, and it's not a low fat diet. I don't want people to think that you just go on a low fat diet because it's not that simple. Um, It's a very specific type of diet and regimen that you must follow and also be consistent.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing these great tips. You mentioned your chronic fatigue planner. Can you?
Yes,
You didn't mention it is a chronic fatigue planner, but I.
it is. It is specifically for chronic fatigue
Uh huh.
symptoms. And so everything in there is going to help you map out the different things that you need to be paying attention to and follow according to anybody that's dealing with chronic fatigue syndrome.
Brilliant. So it helps people be clear about the condition or the symptoms.
Yes.
Then from there, it's like you are analyzing what's going on.
Yes, you're keeping track of your
Uh-huh.
symptoms. And when you write down what you did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then in 3 weeks, you're still doing
Uh-huh.
that, you'll be able to see, okay, wow, I actually slept better.
Uh-huh.
last night, and maybe you wouldn't have realized that, or maybe you woke up and you weren't feeling like, oh my goodness, my blood sugar's low. So you'll see some progress by keeping track and just remaining consistent with doing that
That
activity
yeah,
alone.
that is very interesting, and you use it as a tool to help them, right?
Yes, it is a
Okay,
tool.
brilliant.
Hmm.
That's very good. Uh, I want to talk about boosting energy levels, and
Yeah.
this topic is crucial for managing chronic fatigue syndrome or diabetes. Can you share some tips to help people increase or boost their energy levels?
Yeah, a great tip would be to start by in the morning eating some protein, eating even some veggies, the first thing you put in your mouth is very important. It kind of sets the mood for how your day is going to go. And just getting outside in some fresh air, that's also going to help to boost your energy. You want to remain consistent with, whatever supplements you take, because that could also help. You want to try and get a good night's sleep. At first, it may be difficult, but I would say to have a set bedtime. Okay. Don't stay up all night long. Have a set bedtime. I think if you do these things and create a routine, that you will see results eventually.
Very interesting. So you mentioned earlier that we should include protein quality proteins, which is grass-fed animal proteins in the diet, and you you focus as well on physical activities. It doesn't have to be high intensity training. And the last thing you mentioned is to have quality sleep. It's not just going straight away to the bed, or we will fall asleep and we will have quality sleep. We need to prepare for that. Something
Yes.
like avoiding blue lights, not watching at the same time before
Yeah.
we go to sleep. These are very helpful tips, so people can start implement them. Uh, I have noticed that you have got uh, something called Wheel of Life, and it looks like an interesting concept. Can you explain what the Wheel of Life and how people can use it to identify areas of imbalance and work towards holistic wellness?
Yes. So that is on my website. Askahealth.coach is my website. And basically, it just focuses on the different areas of a person's life, whether it be health habits, relationships, spirituality, that type of thing. Stress is also a factor. And then it's kind of like 1 to 5 or 10, how you would rate those particular factors in your life. And then at the end, once you go through, it's a short little test. It'll give you kind of I guess you can call it a chart, and it shows you how those factors measure. So then you can kind of see, wow, my relationships, whether they're positive or negative, how those kind of weigh, and then you can see, of course, your health, your nutrition, spirituality. It just gives you a brief overview, and kind of, makes you think about things maybe you haven't thought about. And then it just gives you a picture of that.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So, the wheel of life includes health,
Hmm.
stress, relationship, work, and more. So, that is
Hmm.
a tool people can use it to improve their health or life. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, it gives them just a brief picture to kind of, reflect. Wow, I didn't realize maybe this was affecting me the way that it is. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank
Hmm.
you for sharing that. I have got another question before we finish this
Hmm.
episode. What inspiring message or advice would you like to leave with our viewers and listeners to motivate or help them on their health journey?
Well, I think for someone who is dealing with chronic fatigue currently, um, it kind of takes a toll on your life, It takes a toll possibly on your relationships and so forth. And even going to the doctor, you're thinking that they're going to be able to assist you and find some relief. And a lot of times they're not able to just because they're not trained to. And maybe sometimes they feel dismissed or not heard or understood. And as a result, they may lose hope. But I'm here to say that I was once there, possibly where you are now, and that you should not lose hope because I was bound and determined to figure out how to heal. And if you feel like, you don't have your life maybe once before like you did and you would like to get it back and you'd like to heal, then definitely reach out to me because I'm here to help you feel, hopeful again and to help prove to you that you can heal from chronic fatigue just like I did.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your great inspiring message. How can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so just go to my website. It's askahealth.coach. You can find me there. Other than that, yeah, I'm on social media. Get Your Healthy Life on Facebook. You can find me there. Um, and just reach out. Feel free to reach out. I'm here to help you.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your contact information. Have you got anything else you want to share or mention before we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, I know that since this last, well, the pandemic we had, that there's a lot of people that may be experiencing chronic fatigue syndrome. And that's on top of the over 3 million in the US alone that are dealing with that. But I just want people to understand that with some assistance and some consistency that they can heal and just don't lose hope no matter what you do. Don't lose hope.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for
Hmm.
sharing that
Thank
as
you.
well. Now we have come to the end of this episode, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude for our amazing guest, Rachel Davis, for generously sharing her expertise, insights, and time with us today. I also want to thank all of you, our dedicated viewers and listeners, for being a part of this episode. If you need additional guidance and support, you can book a call with me at wellnessimpact.org. If you found this episode insightful and valuable, I invite you to join our community of people committed to thriving with diabetes. To stay up to date for upcoming episodes, empowering discussions, and practical tips, make sure to subscribe and follow us. Once again, thank you, Rachel, for being our guest today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this impactful journey. Until next time, take care of your health and keep thriving.